Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for signing up for our Herbs for Children free masterclass, a parent's lesson. And I'm Michele Wildflower. I'm the founder and alchemist for Nature's Mysteries Apothecary. We're celebrating over 25 years in business. I'm also the director of education at Nature's Mysteries Academy of Holistic Health, my alternative medicine school. Students love our online certification program. One of our students, Latoya, had this to say: Michele was a beacon of light on my journey towards gaining a better understanding on holistic health. I always wanted to engage in the healing arts of herbs and use it to help my family and those that are in need of better options for healing. I'm a nurturer and a healer. I have always coined myself as such, and so I made it my mission to gain the knowledge to go back it up. Let me tell you, this course is nothing like I have ever experienced. The in-depth knowledge and thorough documentation of the thorough it gets a little off track here, so it just threw me off for a second. The in-depth knowledge and thorough documentation is the maple syrup on my gluten-free pancakes. It was so satisfying. I walked away with a wealth of knowledge and lifelong memories that will forever be in my heart. I would recommend this course to anyone seeking to further their knowledge or even start of learning about holistic health. This course is truly invaluable, so do not hesitate to enroll. This is truly a higher level experience. She really enjoyed the program. I'm also the author of the herbal textbook that we use for the program. That is Discover the Essence of Plant Medicine, the 5 Principles of Life-Saving Herbs. And I was actually contracted to write that for the University of Natural Health as an herbal course for them. I understand the healing benefits of herbs firsthand. If you're wondering why they asked me to write the book, about almost 10 years ago now, my husband was diagnosed with a triple hit of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They only gave him a 35% chance of curing it, told him to get his affairs in order. And after hours and hours of research, I came up with an immune building protocol with about 20 different vitamins, herbs, enzymes, minerals, mushrooms. And we had it gone in 3 months, to his oncologist's dismay. And this is also our logo for Nature's Mysteries Apothecary. Those are all the plants that we actually use to rid his body of cancer. But above all, and I believe that it was definitely all of these herbs, herbal medicine, mushrooms, diet, and mindset that has kept it away for all this time, that will continue to keep it at bay. I'm just going to pull this down a little bit. But above all, I'm the mother of 4 beautiful daughters and grandma to 3 gorgeous grandsons. I home birthed my 3 daughters, and one was actually a water birth. My 4th daughter is my stepdaughter, and she was actually born at home too. And today we're going to explore the top 3 healing herbs for alleviating childhood ailments. How does that sound? Okay. You can give me a thumbs up even if you're watching the replay. Just engaging with the content actually helps to lock the information in. So I'm a student of accelerated learning, so I might ask you questions and want you to engage a little bit, and that'll help to lock this information in. I'm also going to use different colored markers so that will also help to lock the information in, because it actually activates different parts of your brain. How does that sound? Does that sound good? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. So we'll learn how to blend safe and effective medicines from nature that do not have debilitating side effects. We'll explore gentle ways to ease your child's symptoms while boosting their immune function, utilizing herbal preparations that you prepare. And understand immune compromising lifestyle choices that we may be making unknowingly that decrease our children's immune function. Does that sound good? Okay, good. So, first, I'd like to clarify that there is no disease or condition that is a result of a lack of pharmaceutical medications, nor is there any disease or condition or symptom that is a result of a pharmaceutical medication deficiency. However, there are many conditions that are a result of an endocannabinoid deficiency. While it's not legal or ethical to test pharmaceuticals on children, they're prescribed to them all the time. So, what we need to do when our child experiences some kind of symptom is try to trace it back. So, this is going to be one of our most valuable tips for improving our child's health. So, trace it back. And what do you think that means? So, basically, what that means is try to think, like, what have they come in contact with? What have they been exposed to? Was there anything new in their environment that could have caused this symptom that you're trying to deal with? Did they go over to someone's house and maybe eat some different food, or try something over there that they are not used to, so their body's having a reaction to it? If you went out to eat somewhere, maybe the food was bad, maybe they ate a bad meal or something. So if your child is experiencing symptoms, instead of just calling the pediatrician and having them give you a pharmaceutical to inhibit their body's function and stop it from displaying whatever symptoms it's displaying, if you try to really think back and figure out what the source of this symptom could be, you might be able to alleviate it without adding any other foreign molecules or compounds, synthetic pharmaceutical medications that cause debilitating side effects that are known as side effects, but are actually direct effects of the medication. A side effect would be if you got any relief from it. So usually you'll find that unless it's a result of some exposure or something like that, but if your child has a condition or disease or something, usually you'll find that it's not an isolated symptom. Like the client I had the other day, she had dry eyes, was why she wanted to have a consultation with me. But once we unlayered the onion and dug a little deeper, we found that there were many things that she was doing that were actually causing endocrine disruption, hormone imbalances, and thyroid disorders. So her doctor has prescribed Synthroid for her, which is having other reactions in her body that she doesn't want. And they put her on antibiotics lots of times because she has sinus drainage. But all of that actually goes back to the fact that her thyroid is not functioning properly, and it can cause all kinds of other reactions and dysfunction and imbalances in the body. And then when those other systems become imbalanced, that can cause other symptoms. So really trying to trace back to the root cause is going to be your best method of treating your child. So like we said, there's usually not an isolated symptom. Unless, like we said, it's the beginning of an acute illness, which is a short-term illness, then it could be an um, isolated symptom. Sorry. So, does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. So, sugar is one of the major inhibitors of our immune function. Immune system inhibitor is sugar. So sugar not only decreases your child's vitamins and minerals, but it also actually decreases their immune function. So to make sure that they, also, your child's stomach is only so big. So if we fill their bellies full of all these sugary sweets and sweetened cereals and all this other sugary stuff that is so available, it'll actually take up space that fruits and vegetables, could be in there. So it's just, try to make sure that we are improving their diets by eating lots of fruits and vegetables so that their bodies have the nutrients necessary to fight off invaders and pathogens known as germs and viruses. It's really important. So not only that, like I was saying, they have limited space. So we need to make sure that we don't fill up their little bellies and leave room for the good foods that we try to give them, right? And that's not to say that they can't have sweets. If it's sweetened with maple syrup, honey, or stevia, that's fine. I made my girls all kinds of cookies, brownies, ice cream, sundaes, energy bites, cupcakes, muffins, and none of it was with white sugar. We actually made our own ice cream. And when they wanted more, I didn't feel bad about giving them some because I knew that all of the ingredients in there were actually good for them. So if you're interested in recipes, so I wrote this book as well. This is actually the 8th chapter out of Discover the Essence of Plant Medicine. The 8th chapter is Herbs for Children. And I just took it out and made its own book for parents who aren't interested in learning all of the other plants and information. In this book, we're actually profiling 7 different herbs, and there's about 50 recipes in there. So if you're interested in some preparations and recipes, you can find them in there. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with the pesticide known as glyphosate, or if you've ever heard of Roundup. So they're actually one and the same. This pesticide is actually closely linked to many different kinds of cancers and other diseases, such as autoimmune disease. And there's just been a new executive order in which production of this carcinogenic compound has been increased. So that means that they will be spraying more of this on our foods. And I always emphasize the importance of an organic diet for children but this emphasis has just greatly increased because of this new executive order. In the US, we cannot trust our government to regulate what is going into our bodies. In this country, like it or not, it's about shareholder pockets. Bayer Aspirin, who owns Monsanto, who is the manufacturer of Roundup, actually contributed heavily to the present administration. So while the World Health Organization has confirmed this agent is a known carcinogen, it will be sprayed even more heavily on our foods now. So when I posted this masterclass, my intention was not to talk about Roundup, but this recent development is definitely worth talking about, especially to parents and especially to anyone fighting an illness or disease, specifically a life-threatening one. Not only have they taken away our health care, but they've severely increased the chances of you needing it, especially for children with developing brains and bodies. Research has shown that after only 2 weeks of eating organic food, pesticide levels have dropped in children whose pesticide levels were checked prior to them eating organic food. So then I might suggest only feeding your children organic food and thinking that's important until you remember who takes care of the children. If you think the children are important, then the caregivers of the children are super important, right? It's just like on an airplane when they tell you to put the oxygen on yourself first. You have to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of your children. So your first and foremost responsibility to them is to take care of yourself so that you are here to take care of them, right? When my daughters were little, I had 3 babies in 5 years, so we had a lot of little ones at the same time in the house. And my husband said, "You guys eat the organic food. I'll just eat whatever." And at this point in time, I was a full-time mom, homeschooling my girls with no extra income coming from my end. And he was the one floating our boat. So his health was of the utmost importance, right? And if he's the one taking care of us, he definitely needs to be the one eating organic food and staying healthy. And if organic is an issue, then it's imperative that you make sure that it has the non GMO Butterfly Project certification. Organic is better because they still could have used chemical herbicides and or fertilizers on non GMO foods, but just not genetically modified ones. So, really, organic is the most important and the highest quality. And if know that if you move to another country where they pay for their citizens health care, that they wouldn't want you to be sick. In America, they bank off of sick people. Cancer is the second largest industry in this country, with petrochemicals as the first. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that to you because it is kind of serious. So enough about that. Okay. All right. A good vitamin is something that you want to ensure that you have. I haven't used the green yet. We'll use that. So, a good multivitamin, because, sometimes when, your kids might not be feeling good, or you might have a bunch of errands that you're running, you're just super busy that day, and you just don't have time to necessarily eat all the good foods that you should, get all your nutritional requirements met. So if you take an organic multivitamin that's specially made for whatever age you are, if you're a child, adult, grandparents, whatever, then you're at least ensuring that your nutritional requirements are met. And nutritional deficiencies can cause all kinds of imbalances in the body. So making sure that our nutritional needs are met is very important to our immune system functioning properly and at the optimum level. So if in your vitamins, you can make sure that they are made from whole food, because the whole reason we're taking the vitamins is to sustain life, right? So if you're taking a vitamin that is made with synthetic compounds that causes side effects, then that's not really life sustaining, right? So you want to find one. New Chapter is a company that I like. They have their vitamins are made from whole food. They're also fermented. So if it's fermented, it's going to be more easily absorbed, more bioavailable for your body. Um, and organic, obviously. So organic, whole food, and fermented are three things that you want to make sure about a good multivitamin. Not introducing dairy until children are at least 2 years old. Bovine milk fat is nowhere near appropriately composed for human babies. And I saw this with my daughters, my three daughters that are close in age. The first two, we never gave dairy before they were 2 years old, but then the other one was born 3 years later. So the oldest one was almost 5 when she was born, and the other one was 4. And so we would go out, and back then, my daughters are like, the oldest of those three is 31 now. So back then they didn't have like dairy free ice cream, anything like that, like you can find now easily. So they wanted ice cream. We're at the beach. Instead of being like, no, Isabel can't have ice cream because she's too little, we would let her have it, even though she was too little and she shouldn't be having it. It wasn't all the time, but it was enough that now she doesn't eat dairy at all. And we could literally see symptoms of dairy allergies displayed by her, but I didn't know at that time that those were symptoms of dairy allergies. So I wanted to go over some of them with you, so that if your child is experiencing them, you know that that's what it is. So dairy allergy symptoms. So the first one is dark circles. You see that? I'm just going to pull this a little bit closer so you can see. Dark circles, throat clearing, and like keep having to like clear your throat. My daughter used to do that all the time. Throat clearing. Runny nose. Another one. Or congestion, if they seem like they got a lot of phlegm built up. Congestion, that's another one. Constant cough is another one. If they're just, like, it's like that little tickle in the back of their throat. Constant cough. Bloating. Sinus infections. And see, a doctor would just prescribe antibiotics. And that's actually what happened with this woman who had the thyroid disorder. She's been on antibiotics so many times because they keep prescribing her antibiotics thinking she has a sinus infection. Sinus infections. Postnasal drip, when you have that like drip in the back of your throat. Diarrhea. And ear infections. That's the other one. I'll put it up here. Ear infections. Okay. And like I said, I totally saw this with my daughter. So it's not like there's any judgment or anything like that. I'm just trying to help people understand their children's symptoms and ways that they can help them to ease their symptoms and maybe even get rid of them. I'm just going to get a drink because I've been talking a lot. It's also good if you're watching to get a drink and keep yourself hydrated. Almost dropped it. Okay. So building our children's immune system naturally without poisons and neurotoxins, our bodies know how to utilize and absorb plant medicine. Synthetic compounds, not so much, which is why we see so many side effects. So do you know that you can't kill a virus with antibiotics? Because if a child was displaying symptoms and you went to the doctor and they prescribed an antibiotic without knowing if it was viral or bacterial, then that would just destroy all their gut bacteria or their microbiome and wouldn't even address it because antibiotics do not kill viruses. So, and if your child has taken any antibiotics, that was easy for me to say, after one round of antibiotics, you should take probiotics for 2 years. 2 years probiotics. And that is to replace or replenish the friendly bacteria that's been lost. Now, the way that a virus works in the body is not commonly known. Viruses such as HIV have incomplete DNA. And so they're trying to steal some of your DNA to make their molecule complete. Eventually, the cell becomes depleted and bleached out. And when this occurs, the cell explodes, spewing out the contents of the virus, spreading the disease. Now, there's no research showing NyQuil increases recovery time after a cold at all or during a cold. So what we can do to support our children's bodies when they are battling a pathogen is not to give them over-the-counter cold medications, but to actually give them herbs that will support and tone those specific systems. So when the body produces a fever, it's an effort to kill some kind of pathogen, right? Like we said, such as a bacteria or virus. And if we stop the body from producing these defense mechanisms, we're not only stopping their bodies from fighting with its natural defenses, but if we give them Benadryl or Tylenol to lower a fever, which only inhibits their immune system even further with its compounds that the liver has to filter and tries to process on top of fighting an invader or trying to keep them at bay. We all know that, Tylenol and all of that is bad for your liver and kidneys. So if your child is already having to battle this pathogen that's attacking them, and then we diminish the function of their kidneys or livers with these over-the-counter medications, it's not helping. It's just not helping. And I know as parents, that's what we want to do, is help them feel better, right? And we're literally willing to try anything to help them feel better. But just because you see the symptoms subside in your child does not mean that that's what's best for them. Obviously, too high of a fever is very dangerous, but there's lots of research showing that cold medicines do not decrease the length or duration of a cold. And on a molecular level, our bodies can only process that which comes from the natural world. Our bodies were not made to process synthetic compounds. It has nowhere to go. It sits somewhere causing inflammation and then disease. These compounds can deposit in our joints, causing what's known as molecular mimicry, where they try to mimic our cells and our bodies sense the foreign compound and literally starts attacking itself, which is the cause of conditions such as like rheumatoid arthritis. So utilizing herbal preparations that not only diminish the uncomfortable symptoms, but support their immune systems in functioning to their optimum potential. There's herbs that are specific for each body part. Really, they each have their own specialty. They usually address way more than just one body system because the whole body is all connected, right? So if we improve functioning in one area, odds are healing will ripple out into other areas of the body. So let their body fight it as long as the fever is not too high. And when they break a sweat, those compounds actually have staph killing properties to them. So to support them, we could put a cool washcloth on their head, on their forehead, the homeopathic remedy belladonna. Belladonna, homeopathic for fevers. And you'll take, start with 2, wait 15 minutes. And if you see no improvement, then you can add 2 more. And the way that you administer homeopathics is you never touch them, so they should never touch your skin. You would just open it up, put the 2 pellets in the cap, and then take the cap and have your child open their mouth and just drop the caplets on their tongue, under their tongue, from in the cap, so that you never actually touch it. You could read their favorite book, play some gentle music. Salt lamps increase the negative ions in the air, whereas Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular devices emit positive ions. And too many positive ions can have a negative effect. That's why minimizing cell phone use and screen time is crucial in optimizing immune function. So some natural antibiotics that I wanted to talk to you about are some you might not expect. So forest bathing, which is literally spending time in the forest, actually, there was research done in Japan that proves that forest bathing increases your white blood cells known as natural killer cells or NK cells. And after 3 days in the forest, those NK levels rose by 50%. These are the white blood cells that attack and fight infections and tumor cells. And perhaps the best part is this increase lasted for 30 days. Fascinating, right? So if you'd like to learn more, I'll put a link in the chat for you. Let's see. Okay. There you go. Oh, I don't know. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Okay. Here we go. Hopefully that works for you. Oh, it looks like I forgot to put the H on the front of it. If you just want to put the H on the front of there. Okay. So, so taking them for a walk in the woods, or better yet, go camping. That would be great. Earthing or grounding. So basically, walking barefoot on the grass, sand, mud, riverbed, lake, ocean, forest floor, connecting with the earth. So, too much time inside can cause seasonal affective disorder. Basically, just placing your feet on the earth and absorbing the electromagnetic current running through the soles of your feet can induce a sense of well being and can reduce cortisol levels. Okay, so now that we have an understanding, well, I don't know if everyone knows, but basically, we are electrical beings. Every living cell in our body is vibrating at its own frequency. And so it makes sense that feeling the earth under our bare feet is grounding. By coming in direct contact with Mother Earth's surface, not only providing us with food, water, fresh air, but we actually receive a charge of energy from deep within. So, knowing that the earth has an electrical current running through it with ley lines and specific courses that the energy of the earth's circuits run through only makes sense that we would feel depleted if we didn't connect with it, right? And especially children, because they're so sensitive. So, I mentioned some other natural antibiotics in my book, but that's all that we have time for today. Like I said, lack of sun or vitamin D can cause seasonal affective disorder. So definitely you want to make sure that you spend some time outdoors. Okay, so extraction. I wanted to talk about extraction and making medicine. So extraction is the art of drawing the healing compounds found in plants into a carrier, such as alcohol, water, or vegetable glycerin. And some herbs are eaten or prepared similarly to food in the same fashion, but when preparing herbs for the very sick or debilitated, extraction is the preferred route. So, by removing the fiber and releasing only the beneficial compounds found in the plant, bypassing all of the waste, direct application of these fortifying compounds can be achieved without the effort of digestion, which can steal the body's energy away from healing during critical moments when the location of the available energy the body has is crucial, allowing it to direct itself into healing as opposed to the fires of digestion. So, because of the multitude of compounds found in herbs and the volatile oil contents, the method of extraction can be critical to the viability of your medicine. If through the extraction process you're eliminating all or any of the potent benefits, then you're defeating your purpose, right? So, some herbs should never be simmered, whereas others really require that gentle heat to release those extraordinary compounds. And this is where your personal research comes in. Perhaps one of the most important steps in blending your herbal remedy I don't think it's what you think I'm going to say, is your state of mind. So if you're upset, angry, irritated, you should not be making medicine. When you're making medicine, you should be like really serene, happy, feeling joyful, in a really good space, because that has a lot to do with your medicine, as the intention that you're putting into it, probably the most. So if you're upset with someone, or someone's wronged you in some way, or you can't stop thinking about it, this is not the time to formulate medicine. Okay, so extraction methods. Okay, so some extraction methods that are possibilities would be into a tincture or a tea. An infusion is basically a strong tea. And a decoction would be what you would use to release the beneficial compounds found in roots or barks. Decoction, or you could use a topical. Like as in a salve or a spray or something like that. So basically, for a tincture, what you would do is you would fill a jar with herb, whatever herb you're using. So a tincture, fill jar with herb, and then cover with alcohol. If I recommend alcohol if you're trying to make medicine, but if for some reason you could always use vegetable glycerin also. Cover with alcohol. And for alcohol, you would use either like organic Everclear, or if you're in Vermont, there's what is it? Now I just lost it. I think it's like Smuggler's Notch Distillery, something like that. And they have organic vodka that you can get. So cover with alcohol, cap, and then you want to shake it every day, filling it with healing intention. If it's for your child, then you're going to be thinking, of them, imagining them whole, happy, and healthy. You want to give so much gratitude to the herb that you're working with and the alcohol for extracting its compounds. So you're just infusing it with all this love and intention and gratitude. Cap, and then shake every day. And you want to let that sit for at least 2 weeks. Infuse for at least 2 weeks. And then you'll strain it. And your dose will be 1 dropper full to 1 cup of water. And you would do that 2 times a day. You can do it 3 if you need to. So many times, because it's an alcohol and many herbs that are really good for us are bitter and don't taste that great, instead of putting the dropper in a cup of water and then having them drink this cup of not the best tasting solution, I like to just put a little bit of water in a cup, put the dropper of tincture in there, have them drink that, and then give them a cup of water, and they can drink that so that the whole cup doesn't taste bad. You know what I mean? Okay. You also could use 80 to 100 proof rum or brandy. I prefer vodka, but So then you'll place in a sunny spot, allowing the sun's rays to extract the beneficial compounds into alcohol. Some people say to keep it in a dark, cool spot. So it's really up to you what resonates. Um, like I said, you could leave it for 2 to 6 weeks. And then after, you'll pour it into sterilized, dark colored bottles and label. For children, if you had like toddlers, you could take half of a dropper full and use it like that, or you could do or you could do the cup of water, half of that, you know what I mean, twice a day. If you're wondering about the alcohol consumption of a child, you could take it out and put it in, the dropper full of tincture, put it in the water and let it sit out for at least 10 minutes, and the alcohol will evaporate if you're worried about it. Okay, so for teas, what you would do for teas, it's basically going to be a teaspoon of herb to a cup of water. 1 cup water. If you were making a stronger tea blend, then it could be up to 2 tablespoons to a cup of water. You were trying to make it like a medicinal tea. Depending on the plant, you might need to cover it. If it's a herb that has volatile oils, then you might want to cover it during the steeping process so that you don't lose those volatile oils. Making these blends in a quart jar and having them on hand is easier than having to make a fresh cup every time. I kind of do that. I make a big jar of tea and then just drink it in a smaller glass all day long. But every time I want a drink, I don't have to like go make a new fresh cup of tea. I already have a bunch of cups already made. And especially if you have someone who's sick and you're having to administer tea throughout the day, if you just make a big jar of it, then you have it with you. And especially if you're traveling around or something like that, or not going to be in the kitchen. Or it could be 4 to 6 leaves in 4 cups of hot water. And you would do that 3 times a day for a period of weeks until signs of improvement or stabilization are reached. For children, 3/4 of a teaspoon tea to a cup of water, and then make half of this tea mixed with equal parts of water before giving it to the child. Most herbs are gentle and can be given a few times a day. Okay, so that's about all we have time for today. In the book, we go over decoctions, infusions, solar water infusions, solar infusions, simples, lunar water infusions, and lunar oil infusions, as well as best oils for extraction. So if you're interested in a bunch more recipes, you can check that in the book. And teas are a great way to administer medicine to children. You could add a little honey to sweeten it up, and not only are you boosting immune function and helping them to stay hydrated, but also reducing inflammation and so many other properties that you'll see. So chamomile was one of the plants that I wanted to go over with you. So chamomile, the parts used are the flowers. And if you're making chamomile tea, you actually don't want to let it steep, I'd say, for more than like 8 minutes or so, because it can start getting bitter. Its curative properties. are tonic, stomachic, anodyne, antispasmodic, sedative, calmative, a nervine, diaphoretic, carminative, stimulant, anti-inflammatory, analgesic, antiseptic, deodorant. Cautions for hormone sensitive conditions such as endometriosis, fibroids, or cancers of the breast, uterus, and ovaries should avoid using chamomile because it may act like estrogen in the body. Some conditions that it treats are inflammatory disorders, asthma, it prevents vomiting, irritable bowel syndrome, digestive complaints, indigestion, acid reflux, open sores, wounds, eczema, conjunctivitis, whooping cough, stress, nervousness, colic, childhood digestive issues, motion sickness, nausea. The list goes on. Can look in the book if you want to find out more. So elderberry is another one that I wanted to go over. And elderberry, the parts used are the roots, leaves, flowers, barks, and berries. So just about every part of the plant is medicinal except the root. Barks, berries, leaves, and flowers. Its curative properties are purgative, emetic, diuretic, diaphoretic, mild diaphoretic, alterative, laxative, expectorant, circulatory stimulant, antiviral. It promotes sweating. The leaves are good for bruises, sprains, and skin irritations. The flowers are a gentle stimulant and a mild astringent. The berries are a blood purifier. The bark is also a blood purifier, liver stimulant, purgative, emetic, diuretic, and emollient. And for berries, barks, or roots, you could make a decoction by placing in a pot and then covering with double the amount of water. 2 ounces of herb per quart of water. Simmer on low heat and then let sit for hours. Cautions: only the black elder is safe to use internally. Red elder is toxic. So do not eat the red elder, and don't eat raw uncooked berries in great quantity as they can cause digestive upset and diarrhea. Fresh plants can cause poisoning. Children have been poisoned by chewing or sucking on the bark, but cooked berries are safe. Conditions that it treats are shingles, upper respiratory infections, bronchitis, rash, measles, eruptive diseases, influenza, headaches, colds, epilepsy, mouth ulcers, sore throat, tonsillitis, colds, flu, fevers, viruses, chronic fatigue, allergies. The leaves are a detoxifying agent. The flowers are good for burns, rashes, minor skin elements, wrinkles, twitching eyelids, and bronchitis. The berries are good for diarrhea, arthritic, or rheumatic complaints. And so I wanted to give you a cough syrup recipe before we go. The cough syrup ingredients ingredients are echinacea, marshmallow, elderberries, wild cherry bark, licorice, and chamomile. So you'll use 2 ounces of herb to a quart of water. And then you'll cook it down to half. And then you'll strain the herbs. And then measure the liquid, pour back into the pot, add 1 cup of honey for each pint of liquid. And you could also use maple syrup or vegetable glycerin. So let me write that down. 1 cup of honey, pour in pot. 1 cup honey to 1 pint of liquid. And you'll warm the mixture slowly under 110 degrees so as to not kill the beneficial enzymes in the honey. Warm slowly. You could add essential oils for flavor like orange, wintergreen, or spearmint. Put it in the bottle in the fridge for it'll last in the fridge for several weeks. Honey is actually hygroscopic, which means that it sucks moisture from germs. Germs actually have moisture in them too. And raw honey is good for allergies, soothing bronchial passages, sore throats, easing coughs, immune boosting, and brain health. How's that sound? Okay, so we ended up going a little bit longer than I had anticipated. I guess we're just going to stop here. But I want to thank you for joining us. If you're watching the replay, like I said, thank you for joining us. Whether you're live or watching the replay, we appreciate you. And we're excited to announce that Nature's Mysteries Medicine Show is enjoying a comeback. So our first episode will be March 18th. And we actually did about over 50 episodes a while back. And then we took a little break and now we're back. So if you're interested, you can go on our Nature's Mysteries YouTube channel. You could look up Nature's Mysteries Apothecary YouTube, and you'll find a number of videos there. You could watch all 50 episodes, and there's lots of alternatives to medications that your doctor prescribes for you that have debilitating side effects. So something you can check out if you're interested in that. If you're interested in taking your knowledge a bit further, our 12-week online holistic health practitioner program begins April 16th. And in 12 short weeks, you could be applying to the American Association of Drugless Practitioners for your board certification in holistic health. In my book, we're profiling 33 different herbs. We go over growing, harvesting, storing, preparations, applications. There's over 150 recipes included. And on the 13th week, there's an optional free business class, which helps you to know what you should have in order before you open up your practice and get things started. So that's the 13th week. We have flexible financing options available. We'd love to have you join us if natural healing resonates with you and you're interested in making your own medicine. If you have any questions, you can always reach out. Our social media channels on Instagram is Nature's Mysteries Academy of Holistic Health. On TikTok at natures.mysteries12. and on Facebook, Nature's Mysteries Academy of Holistic Health. So thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again, maybe at Nature's Mysteries Medicine Show or one of our next free masterclasses. And we hope that you have a great night. Thanks so much. Take care.